The Detroit Lions get aggressive on night number 2, trade up, and get the edge rusher they wanted.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, here we go, everybody. Matt Dery with you. It's a Friday edition of Locked On Lions, Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. Lions Draft Night 2, brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. We got ourselves a call of the day today. We'll play that at the end of the program. We'll also hear some audio from Brad Holmes. Yes, Lions general manager speaks. We will get that audio to you momentarily. We'll talk about the trade up that occurred tonight where the Lions were sitting at 50 and decided to, yes, move on up to get to 44 to make their selection of Derrick Moore. And let's get right into it, as your Detroit Lions did, capital D, capital I, capital D. The Lions did what all the fans, all the media, yours truly that hosts this podcast, Locked On Lions, what we wanted him to do. We said for weeks, can Brad just take a tackle at 17 and an edge at 50? What Brad ended up doing tonight on night number 2 of the draft was, hey, we got to move up. We got to go get the guy that we need. They move up 6 spots from number 50 to number 44, make a trade with the Jets. They give the Jets their second, 4th round pick number 128 tomorrow. And the Lions go out and draft edge rusher Derrick Moore from Michigan, a guy that many Wolverine fans are familiar with. And let me just say this too about Derrick Moore. He's a really good football player who didn't maybe thrive and become a bigger name because, let's be honest, his position or his defensive coordinator was Wink Martindale, who was much more worried about his golf game, allegedly, than coaching, right? His head coach, his mistress is running around Good Morning America right now doing her media tour. So regardless, you look at Derrick Moore and you go, all right, the Lions got an edge, a big guy, body type fits the Lions. First team All Big Ten last year, 41 total pressures, 95 tackles in his career, 24 and a half TFLs, 21 sacks in his 4-year career at Michigan. Team captain last year, named Michigan's team MVP and defensive player of the year, and had 10 and a half tackles for a loss last year and 10 sacks in 2025. Our friends at PFF logged him for 41 pressures and ranked him 18th among FBS edge players with an overall PFF grade of 89.9. And he was ranked 8th among FBS edge players with a 92.4 PFF pass rush grade this past season. And I know what some of you are going to say. Well, the Lions should have, they could have stayed at 50 and taken Gabe Akis. Or why didn't they take Zion Young from Missouri, whom Mel Kiper and others had ranked higher than Derrick Moore? Derrick Moore's a good player. We've talked about him. Give Jordan Reed credit from ESPN.com, the draft analyst. He had Derrick Moore mocked. We talked about this, I think, last week, or maybe it was this past week, Mock Draft Monday. He had Derrick Moore mocked to the Lions at 50. And some edge rushers started coming off the board. Cassius Howell came off the board. Some other guys earlier in the second round. Let me go find the edge rushers that were off the. TJ Parker from Clemson went 35. R. Mason Thomas went 40 to Kansas City. Mentioned Howell, 41 to the Bengals. And the Lions looked up and said, all right, we got to go get our guy. They like Derrick Moore a lot. We're going to hear from Brad Holmes and get some audio from him momentarily. But this was the right pick, the right play. And, you know, Brad Holmes walked into his press conference, and you'll hear the chuckles from the media masses. Brad Holmes walked in with a giant smile on his face and like a nodding. Almost like, y'all wanted me to take a tackle. Y'all wanted me to take an edge. And he actually made a comment like, you can get off my ass now. And everybody laughed. Brad cares way too much about what the media says. If there's one flaw that he has, it's that. He seems to know what everybody is saying, and it bothers him. It shouldn't. Draft whoever you want. Draft who you think is best. Brad's track record's good. Brad Holmes is the general manager of the team that finally won some playoff games. 2 in one season. Brad Holmes is the general manager of a team that finished with 15 wins 2 years ago and went 15-2. That was him being the architect of that. Why he cares what the media says and fans say, I don't know. But Brad walked in tonight and was like kind of chuckling a little bit, but it did work. This was the right call. You got your tackle last night in Blake Miller. Solid, steady, consistent, big man, can finish, can run block, can pass block. You're going to put him at right tackle, hopefully for the next 10 years. All right? You got to. He's a good player. And I was on Fox 2's Sports Office show tonight at 7 with Woody Woodruff, and we were talking about, he's coming from the ACC. Lauren Edwards, the news reporter, was in there too. Lauren's great. She was like, yeah, but, he's an ACC guy. Blake Miller's a good player. All right? Whether you thought they reached or whatever, he's a good, solid player. And now you get Derrick Moore, and it's the same thing. 22-year-old, been around, played 4 years at Michigan, team captain, leader, kept his mouth shut, played on a team this past year that obviously had a lot of distractions and didn't get the job done. And all he did was put up numbers. 10 sacks, 10.5 TFLs, like I said. And he can get around the edge. And I've already seen some stuff about Mount Hutchmore. Hutch on one side from Michigan, Derrick Moore on the other side from U of M. He might not be as good of a run stopper as, let's say, DJ Wonnum is, but Wonnum is not the pass rusher that Moore showed in college. And I really like the first 2 days of this draft for Detroit. I like it. I can't get on here and go, well, I don't love the players, or, gee, they could have had this, they could have had that. We've been preaching for months leading up to this draft, and thank God the draft is here. Got to get an edge, got to get a tackle, and they got both, and they got good players. Will they develop into great players? We'll see. It's up to the coaching staff to take them to the next level. I love the fact that Hank Fraley is going to get his mitts on a guy like Blake Miller. That I'm excited about. Kelvin Shepard's got to find a way to get Derrick Moore on the field and be a threat to come around the edge opposite of Aidan Hutchinson and do some damage. These are good, solid players. And they fit what the Lions are looking for. Leaders, captains, professionals. No BS. And guess what? Both guys played a ton of snaps. Both guys were not injury prone. I was thinking the Lions were going to move up to take Jermod McCoy. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. An injured cornerback. But they stuck with the game plan, and you like that a lot. Now, why did they make a trade? Could Derrick Moore have been there at 50? I do have a theory as to why the Lions moved up to make this move. And we will get into that coming up next. You're on night number 2 of the draft. By the way, I'm recording at 10:20. The third round is still going on, but Brad Holmes spoke to the media. So I think I'm pretty safe that the Lions are not going to move up and do anything. I'm looking at my phone right now. I think we're safe. I was thinking I would wait until the end of the night, but we could be here all night, and you guys want the content. I'm going to get it to you. We're getting it to you right now. So I'm recording here at like 10:20. Coming up next, why the Lions had to trade up, and you'll hear some Brad Holmes audio right here on a Friday night, Locked On Lions. And Locked On Lions tonight is brought to you by Rougiet. The NFL Draft is here, where preparation meets opportunity and every decision matters. It's all about being ready when your moment comes. And that same mindset applies off the field too. That's where Rougiet comes in. Rougiet offers treatments designed to help you feel ready and confident when it matters most. And we're talking about, yes, in the bedroom. Their top option, Rougiet Ready, is a mint that dissolves under your tongue with clinically proven ingredients. It works quickly, often in about 15 minutes, and can last up to 36 hours. And they also offer Go Long, designed to help with both performance and control. It's all about showing up at your best whenever your moment is. Head to Rougiet.com/LockedOnNFL and get 15% off your ED treatment. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNFL for 15% off. Rougiet, performance medicine for men. And yes, Locked On Lions tonight also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. NBA playoffs are here. Pistons back at it tomorrow. Big game 3 in Orlando against the Magic. Every possession matters. Every matchup is magnified. Every game can swing a series. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. Or you can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. The app makes it easy to follow the action with player stats, trends, and matchups all in one place. And during the playoffs, that extra insight really matters when you're looking at stars, role players, and key moments. It just makes the entire playoff experience more engaging from start to finish. All right, we're talking to my buddy Jacob Derrick today, big Pistons fan. Pistons are just 2.5-point favorites tomorrow against the Magic. You think they're going to win by 3? Put some money down at FanDuel. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. By the way, I got to give a shout out to some everyday listeners. Don't forget to join our Everydayer Club, please and thank you. You'll get an ad-free feed of the show as well. You can join us on our Locked On Lions Discord channel, our chat, and do the business. All right, talk to us on the chat. It is a lot of fun. It's our Locked On Lions Discord chat as a part of our Everydayer Club right here on Locked On Lions. Please join and be a part of it. A couple of new everydayers, the twins, John and Rick Jackson. Yes. Daughter Jenna. Turn them on to Locked On Lions. We appreciate that for sure. And all of our everydayers. All right. My theory on why the Lions had to trade up. Many people are like, why would the Lions move up 6 spots, give up a 4th-round pick for Derrick Moore? He would have been there at 50, blah, blah, blah. Possibly. Who is sitting at number 45? The Baltimore Ravens. What do the Baltimore Ravens need? Pass rushers. Who's the coach of the Baltimore Ravens? Jesse Minter, who was Derrick Moore's defensive coordinator his freshman year at Michigan. Jesse Minter. I think the Lions, and Brad Holmes was asked about it. Did you move up because you were fearful that the Ravens were going to take him at 45? And he said, yeah, we had some intel about some teams that were interested, and we kind of knew Baltimore wanted an edge rusher, and they got one in Zion Young from Missouri. They took Zion Young the pick after. And again, so now with Brad Holmes, he's going to be judged on, will Blake Miller be better than Monroe Freeling, who went 19 last night, the tackle? Miller went 17. And if Zion Young is a big year for the Ravens and Derrick Moore is we're going to go, oh my God, he passed on Zion Young. Excuse me, for Derrick Moore. So keep that in mind. But the Ravens needed an edge. You know, Jesse Minter knows Derrick Moore. And I think that's one of the big reasons why the Lions were like, we got to move up. And they've accumulated picks enough to make that happen. Now they still have a 4th rounder tomorrow, 2 5s, 2 6s, and a 7 on Saturday to add more pieces. I would expect the Lions to grab another offensive lineman tomorrow, a cornerback, defensive tackle, linebacker, maybe even another edge, and maybe even a safety at some point tomorrow. And they can package picks, move up if there's a player that they like. But of course, they did not have a 3rd-round pick tonight. Now their 4th rounder, 128 overall, was traded in the package to get Derrick Moore. Lions still have 118 in the 4th round tomorrow on Saturday. So there is that. All right, let's hear from Brad Holmes, shall we? This was earlier tonight, courtesy of DetroitLions.com. Brad Holmes smiling, giggling with the media, making faces, because he knew when he walked in, like, yep, I followed your mock drafts. Here's Brad Holmes from earlier tonight, the Lions general manager.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say anything. I don't say anything. I guess I followed your mock drafts. I guess it's all good. Questions?
What's that?
Yeah, we've been pretty as many questions as I fielded from you guys about at that position. We've been pretty clear about what the requirements are at that position for us, and he fits that. He's a physical player that he can set hard edges. His pass rush greatly improved, and when I look at Derrick, it's a much similar like Blake Miller that we took yesterday in terms of been watching him for a long time and have always felt the length and the physicality and the power in the pass, but didn't really feel like his rush was quite there yet. But this year he really got better. And then when he went down to Mobile at the Senior Bowl, he strung together a really good week rushing the passer. So he's another one that has a floor coming in, but he's getting better and better and better. And just like I said with Blake Miller, I don't see why that's going to stop in this ecosystem. So really, really excited because it's hard to find guys that, I'm not going to say we're picky, but, we just have a certain type that we like, and he fits those boxes.
Follow up, because you brought up with Tesla last year, the Senior Bowl, right? That's such a kind of bang, bang, bang event, right?
Yeah.
There's 3 practices in a game. Like, what is it about that event where you see a guy stand out there that's really a draw to you?
Yeah, it's just you just know that and look, in credit to the guys that put the game together, it was Jim Nagy in the past, and he passed the torch to Drew Fab, and I thought Drew Fab did a really nice job putting together that roster. But it's just seeing that type of competition in real raw practices for a whole week, and then playing the game. And you can it's a lot of stories that you can get from it. There's some smaller school developmental guys that have rough days at the start of the week, and they kind of get better and then have a good games. And, not everybody plays in the game. There's some guys that, a lot of guys opt out and they play the whole game. I mean, I think that says a lot, but Derrick, I don't think he played in the game, but his practices were really, really good. But I knew for him, what he showed was not only did he really show that he was an improved pass rusher, not just outside on the edge. He can sub rush too, which is very intriguing about him as well. I think that was a very underrated component of his game. But I thought he did a nice job proving at the Senior Bowl versus top competition that he's a real pass rusher.
Go ahead. Oh, I was going to say, your first 2 picks, offensive tackle and edge rusher, is that just a perfect blend of what you need, but also what those were the guys you wanted? Yeah, no,
it really did line up just because, like we've always said, we're just going to take the best player. So, look, if there was – I'm sure there was other tackles that were available, or there was other, edge rushers that were available, but these were the guys that we liked. So, when it blends together like that, it's really nice. But couldn't be happier actually. Just from today and yesterday, I know we still got a lot of picks tomorrow, or we lost 1 pick when we traded up, but I still feel like we got enough ammo to still make a little bit of hay.
All right, there it is. Brad Holmes. How about Brad Holmes giving Jim Nagy some love? The Senior Bowl. Brad's not the most active Senior Bowl general manager there is. All right. He comes from the Les Snead school in LA with the Rams, where Les Snead doesn't go to the Senior Bowl. But Brad giving some love to the Senior Bowl folks. Derrick Moore, who he said had a really good Senior Bowl. Remember last year, Isaac Tesla, Justin Rogers asked the question, had a good Senior Bowl. Brad's getting players that are mature, getting better, ascending players, and guys, at least the first 2 picks are guys that he's watched over the last couple of years. If that's a trend for the rest of the draft, we'll see. But Holmes knew coming into this season, this offseason, and this might be why he skipped the league meetings in Arizona to watch more film and get ready for the draft. He knew he had to have a big draft. Free agency was not going to be some cash cow for this franchise where they're going to spend, and build that way. And in trying to re-sign some of their own guys, the core four, if you want to say, Gibbs, Campbell, Branch, and Laporta, he knew the draft was going to be his chance to pick up cheap, good talent that's immediately going to come in and play. And I think the first two nights, at least, with Blake Miller and Derrick Moore, they've done that. So, all right, coming up next, a little call of the day. By the way, I want to say one other thing before we go to our call of the day and pay some bills here. The Bears have had a really good draft. I hate to say it, but they got the center from Iowa, who I loved. They got Thieneman yesterday, the safety from Oregon. Bears have done well, which I hate to say, but they have. Call of the day coming up next. And Locked On Lions, the NFL draft this week, brought to you by our friends at Kalshi. Every pick is a tradable moment on Kalshi. All right. Yesterday I mentioned this. David Bailey or Arvell Reese, which one would be the number 2 pick? They were trading at 50-50, meaning that if you bet on this on Kalshi, you would have doubled your money if you would have had Bailey as the pick. All right. A lot of things going on in the NFL draft market. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probabilities change, you can buy in and out of your position. Trade the draft pick, the game, and more on Kalshi. That's Kalshi. For limited time, download the Kalshi app, use code LOCKEDON. You'll get $10 when you trade 10. Kalshi, Kalshi. Trade on anything. Matt Dery back with you. Thanks for making us your first listen, checking us out wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget, follow us, like us on all social media platforms. Locked On Lions on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. We got the minute the Lions made picks the last 2 nights. We had videos up, all sorts of stuff. Check it all out on our social media platforms. Let's check in, shall we, with a little call of the day. It's been a while since we have heard from one of our listeners. If you want to be our call of the day, you can go to speakpipe.com/Dery, Dery podcast page. That's speakpipe.com/Dery. Or speakpipe, speakpipe.com/Dery podcast page. Leave us a voicemail, which is what Chris did, one of our everyday listeners here on Locked On Lions. Let's take a listen.
Hey, Matt, Chris from Novi. Just wanted to talk about Brad's strategy of, quote, signing your own and how that runs counter to what everybody knows in the NFL is that the key to success is often to have a young quarterback on a rookie deal. The Chiefs did it when Mahomes was on his rookie deal. The Bears are trying to do it with Caleb Williams, and we've seen it multiple times around the league. But the way the Lions have operated, the time to really strike, as well as Brad Holmes has drafted in the last few years, was once those rookies started hitting their stride in year 3 and 4 and were still on rookie deals, they should have been pushing their chips in to sign higher value free agents. What we're left with now is a situation where, the Lions are still going to be very good because they signed their own guys. But in order for them to maybe hit that next level, they're going to have to hit again on the draft to have some of those cheaper rookie contract guys contribute. So I think they're kind of doing it in reverse of what's been the norm. Love the podcast. Go Lions.
All right. Thank you, sir. Yes. Chris from Nova, he's kind of right. I mean, the Lions did kind of do things in reverse. It is an interesting theory that most teams that feel like, all right, we get our quarterback in the draft, we develop him. You mentioned Mahomes and others, and obviously A guy like Lamar Jackson was drafted. Ravens have had success, etc. We saw Ben Roethlisberger on the stage last night at the draft. That's a guy that the Steelers drafted, developed, won a Super Bowl with. That's usually the way it goes. And yes, when the Lions had their youngest guys all on rookie deals and were making that run, they didn't necessarily add a ton to put all the chips in, as he just mentioned. So now it is about restocking in the draft. And this might be another reason why the Lions have gone really young this offseason. Yes, the draft, you're going to get young players. But in free agency, think about the young guys that they've added. All right, Roger McCreary is only 25, 26. Christian Izzian's 24. Cade Mays, 26. They are a young team, very young team. They're a top 5 youngest team in the league. And for some of these guys, if they perform on these one-year deals, like I mentioned, McCreary or an Izzian or whomever, you can bring them back and they're still in the prime of their careers. I think Brad Holmes looked up and said, and obviously Dan Campbell had a hand in this, and Chris Spielman and Ray Agnew and everybody in the front office, Mike Disner, John Dorsey. We got to get younger, and we got to be able to give these guys an opportunity to play for contracts, bigger contracts, and then we keep some of those guys. Paying Alex Anzalone $8-9 million a year, paying Amik Robertson $8 million or $9 million a year, which is what he got from the Commanders. Probably too high for a player like that, who's more approaching 30 than an Izzy or McCreary or whatever. So they are getting younger. They are doing this a little bit differently. But again, I think the Lions expected, and Brad and Dan knew we could have success, but they had to draft well first, and they did, getting the likes of Sewell and Hutchinson and all of that. But yes, they got their quarterback, Jared Goff, in his prime and paid him, but not by the draft. But if you really think about it, sending Matthew Stafford over for Goff and first-round picks is not something that normally happens in this league. How many quarterback-for-quarterback trades are there that work out for both teams? That made it unusual. Kind of like Chris was just talking about. All right, that'll do it for us. All the social media platforms and our Locked On Lions YouTube tomorrow. We'll have some videos. We'll recap the weekend and the entire draft on Monday, right here on Locked On Lions.